May 11th, 1943, 5:42 in the morning, Attu Island, Alaska. Maya Richardson, 24 years old, from Anchorage, was lying in frozen tundra moss wearing an officer's coat 3 sizes too large. She'd killed 288 Japanese soldiers in the last 7 months. 21 more to go until 309. But this morning, she wasn't hunting enemy infantry. She was hunting the hunter who'd been hunting her, Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto. 89 confirmed kills, all American or Allied snipers, the best counter-sniper the Japanese Imperial Army had. And he was 300 meters away, somewhere in the ruins of a destroyed church, settling into position to kill American officers during morning briefing. Maya stood in the open, exposed, vulnerable, making herself the most valuable target on the battlefield. Her rifle was 4 meters away, propped behind rubble, aimed at where she believed Yamamoto was hiding. If she was wrong about his position, she'd be dead before she hit the ground. If she was right, she'd have maybe 2 seconds to dive, grab the rifle, acquire the target, and fire before he repositioned. One chance, one moment, everything on the line. She'd been standing here for 17 minutes. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to take cover. Every instinct honed by 7 months of combat told her this was suicide. Every lesson she'd ever learned said exposure equals death. But she'd watched 7 American snipers die following those lessons. And Maya Richardson had decided a long time ago that she'd rather die on her own terms than follow doctrine that got people killed. The shot came at 5:59, the crack of an Arisaka Type 38 rifle. Distinct sound, the snap of a bullet passing centimeters from her head. So close she felt the air displacement. So close it parted her hair. Maya dove left, toward her rifle, not away from danger. Hit frozen ground hard enough to crack ribs. Ignored the pain. Her hands found the Winchester, muscle memory, swung the barrel toward the church tower, scanned through the scope. There, 3rd floor, bell tower opening, a figure moving back into shadow. 3 seconds before he disappeared completely. Maya didn't calculate wind, didn't adjust for exact distance, just pointed and fired, pure instinct. Through the scope she saw the figure jerk, stagger, fall backward into darkness. She stayed down, watched, waited, chambered another round. No movement, no return fire. 15 minutes later, American soldiers cleared the bell tower, found Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto, single shot through the chest, dead. In his coat pocket, a photograph of a woman and child, his wife and daughter. Hokkaido, waiting for him to come home. Maya stood over his body and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just empty. She'd killed 95 people now, and she was trying to remember when killing had stopped feeling like anything at all. But Maya Richardson's story doesn't start on a battlefield in the Aleutians. It starts 20 years earlier, in the wilderness outside Anchorage, with a father teaching his daughter that survival means making the first shot count. Anchorage, Alaska, 1925, population 3,000. Maybe. A frontier town carved out of wilderness that didn't want human habitation. The kind of place where you learned to provide for yourself or you didn't survive winter. The Richardson family lived in a cabin 8 miles outside town. No electricity, no running water. Heat came from a wood stove that Robert Richardson, Maya's father, kept burning October through April. Robert was a wilderness guide, made his living taking wealthy men from Seattle and San Francisco into the backcountry to shoot moose and grizzly, taught them how to track game through snow, how to read wind, how to estimate range without instruments. He was exceptional at it. Maya's mother, Anna, was Athabascan, from a village further north. She'd grown up learning to read landscapes the way other children learned to read books. could tell you what animals had passed through an area by studying disturbed snow, could predict weather by watching how birds moved. Their daughter learned from both. Maya took her first shot when she was 6 years old. Her father handed her a .22 rifle that weighed almost as much as she did, pointed at a tin can sitting on a stump 30 yards away. Breathe slow, squeeze, don't pull, let the shot surprise you. She missed the next 4 shots too. Her father didn't correct her technique, didn't adjust her stance, just stood there, patient, waiting. On the 6th shot, the can jumped off the stump. Her father nodded once. Now do it again. By age 12, Maya could hit a running snowshoe hare at 100 yards. Not because she was naturally talented, because her family ate based on whether she made her shots count. There was no margin for error when winter food supplies were measured in what you could kill and preserve. By 14, she was guiding alongside her father, taking clients into the backcountry, teaching them what her parents had taught her. She was better than most of the men her father employed, better at tracking, better at reading terrain, better at making the shot when it mattered. She didn't think of herself as exceptional. This was just survival, this was Alaska. But there was one skill that would prove critical later: patience. Maya could remain motionless for hours, waiting for game to move into position, waiting for wind to shift, waiting for the moment when every variable aligned and the shot became not just possible, but inevitable. Other guides got restless, tried to force opportunities that weren't there. Maya waited. "The animal doesn't know you're there," her father told her once, while they were waiting for a caribou herd to move into range. Soon as you move, soon as you make noise, it knows, then the opportunity is gone. So you wait. You become part of the landscape. You breathe with the wind. You think like the animal thinks. And when it makes a mistake, and it will, you take your shot. She carried that lesson into everything that followed. In December 1941, Maya was 23 years old. Running her own guide service, her father had died 2 years earlier. Heart attack while setting a trapline. Her mother had followed 6 months later. Pneumonia that turned into something the doctor in Anchorage couldn't treat. Maya inherited the business, the cabin, the rifles, the reputation. She was making a decent living, had regular clients, men who came back year after year because she knew the backcountry better than anyone else and didn't waste their time with small talk. Then December 7th happened. Pearl Harbor. Maya heard about it on the radio. Japanese bombs falling on American ships. American sailors burning in oil-slicked water. Over 2,000 dead in a single morning. She listened to the reports and felt something she'd never felt before. Rage. Not hot, immediate anger, something colder, more permanent, the kind that settles into your bones and changes how you see the world. She thought about enlisting that day. Didn't. The military didn't take women into combat roles. Best she could hope for was nursing, maybe administrative work. That wasn't what she wanted. So she stayed in Alaska, kept guiding, kept listening to radio reports about the war and feeling like she was wasting her skills. Then June 1942 happened. June 6, 1942, Japanese forces landed on Kiska Island. The next day, they took Attu. For the first time since the War of 1812, foreign military forces occupied American territory. The Aleutians weren't strategically critical. Cold, remote, covered in fog, 9 months a year. But they were American soil, and Japanese soldiers were raising the rising sun flag over American land. The U.S. military response was immediate and chaotic. They needed forces that could operate in Arctic conditions. They didn't have them. First American units deployed to the Aleutians suffered 71% casualty rates in some companies, not from combat, from weather, frostbite, hypothermia, trench foot. Men died in their sleeping bags because they didn't understand Arctic survival. The military needed guides. Maya volunteered. Not as a soldier, as a civilian contractor, teaching Arctic survival to infantry units before they deployed. She was good at it, taught survival classes at Fort Richardson for 3 months, trained over 200 soldiers. Then in September, she witnessed something that changed everything. A training exercise went wrong. A Japanese reconnaissance team, submarine dropped, had infiltrated the training area. They opened fire on an American platoon from concealed positions 400 yards away. Maya watched through binoculars as American soldiers died, watched them try to return fire with M1 Garands that couldn't reach targets at that range. 9 Americans killed in 4 minutes. The Japanese withdrew before reinforcements arrived, disappeared into wilderness like ghosts. Maya stood on that ridgeline looking at 9 dead Americans and understood something fundamental. The Japanese had soldiers who could shoot at ranges American infantry couldn't match. Who could move through terrain without being detected? The Americans needed people who could hunt back. That evening, Maya walked into the recruiting office at Fort Richardson, told the officer on duty she wanted to enlist as a sniper. The officer, Major Whitmore Texan, 40-something, stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. "Ma'am, women don't serve in combat roles. You want to contribute, we can use nurses." "I've been shooting since I was 6 years old," Maya interrupted. "Top scores in every hunting competition in Alaska for the last 5 years. I can hit a moving target at 400 yards in wind that would make your best marksman miss by 3 feet. Whitmore stopped smiling. "Shooting targets isn't combat. Combat is blood and screaming and watching your friends die." "I watched 9 men die today," Maya said. Her voice was level. "Japanese reconnaissance team, 400 yards. The Americans couldn't return effective fire. They died because they didn't have anyone who could shoot back. You need snipers. I can shoot. Test me." Whitmore studied her face. Whatever he saw there made him reconsider. "All right, let's see what you can do." The test was simple. "A fence post, 100 yards, 5 rounds." Whitmore handed her an M1 Garand. The rifle was slightly out of alignment. The sights had been adjusted incorrectly. Maya noticed, didn't mention it. She settled into prone position, controlled her breathing, aimed at the fence post, compensated mentally for the sight misalignment, fired 5 rounds, 4 through dead center, 1 2 inches left because she'd overcorrected. Whitmore walked down range, examined the target, walked back. "You ever kill anyone, Miss Richardson?" "No, sir." "You think you can?" Maya thought about the 9 soldiers she'd watched die, thought about Pearl Harbor, thought about Japanese forces on American soil. "Yes, sir." "Why?" "Because someone has to." Whitmore nodded slowly. "You're assigned to the 25th Rifle Division as a sniper trainee. Report to Sergeant Morrison tomorrow at 0600. That was September 1942. Maya Richardson became the first woman assigned to a combat sniper unit in the U.S. military. Sniper training at Fort Richardson was 6 weeks, condensed from the normal 12 because the Aleutian campaign needed bodies. Sergeant Morrison was 42, Montana rancher before the war, had served in World War I as a marksman. He didn't want Maya in his unit, made that clear on day 1. "Nothing personal, Richardson, but combat sniping isn't wilderness hunting. It's killing human beings who are trying to kill you first. And you're carrying something extra. You're proving women can do this. That means you can't just be as good as the men. You have to be better. You have to be perfect." Morrison paused. "So I'm going to train you harder than anyone else. I'm going to hold you to higher standards. And if you can't meet those standards, I'm going to recommend your reassignment without hesitation. Clear?" "Clear, Sergeant." For 6 weeks, Maya lived in hell. Wake at 0430, physical training until 0600, then range time until dark, shooting positions, breath control, trigger discipline, ballistics, reading wind, estimating range, camouflage, stalking exercises. 8 other soldiers in her training class, all men, 3 washed out. Maya didn't. By week 4, she was outperforming 6 of the remaining 5 in accuracy trials. By week 6, Morrison stopped mentioning her gender, started treating her like every other sniper, which meant he was merciless about mistakes. Morrison taught doctrine. U.S. Army sniper doctrine was explicit and unforgiving. Never expose your position. Take your shot. Move immediately to a secondary position. Never stay in one place more than 30 minutes. Never fire more than 3 shots from the same location. Never engage unless you have a clean exit route. Concealment equals survival. Exposure equals death. The sniper's greatest weapon isn't the rifle, Morrison told them. It's invisibility. The moment the enemy knows where you are, you're dead. Your job is to be a ghost. Kill and disappear. You follow that doctrine, you might survive this war. Maya absorbed it all, practiced religiously. By the end of 6 weeks, she could hit targets at 600 yards in variable wind, could construct camouflaged positions invisible from 20 feet, could low crawl through open terrain without being spotted. Morrison graduated her with the rest of the class, shook her hand. "You proved me wrong, Richardson. You belong here." That was October 1942. Maya Richardson was assigned to the 25th Rifle Division and shipped to Attu Island. She had 0 confirmed kills. She'd never shot at another human being. She was about to learn that everything Morrison had taught her about doctrine was going to get people killed. Attu Island, November 1942. The island was cold, wet, covered in fog that reduced visibility to 50 yards on good days, wind that cut through clothing like it had personal vendetta against warmth. Japanese held defensive positions in the high ground. Americans held lowlands and were trying to push upward through terrain that favored defenders. Infantry assaults failed. Japanese machine gun positions had overlapping fields of fire. Artillery was ineffective through fog. Air support was impossible because weather grounded aircraft. The only tactical advantage Americans had were snipers. Maya was assigned to a 4-person sniper team. Team leader, Lieutenant Anna Thornfield, 29, New Hampshire, 8 months as a sniper, 47 confirmed kills, experienced, by the book. Second, Corporal Victor Callahan, 19, Boston, 6 weeks as a sniper, 11 confirmed kills, good kid, eager. Third, Private First Class Jackson Moore, 26, Tennessee, 3 months as sniper, 23 confirmed kills, quiet, professional. Fourth, Maya Richardson, 24, Alaska, 0 confirmed kills, the rookie. Thornfield briefed them the first night. Japanese have counter-sniper teams operating in this sector. They're good, better than most of our people. They know our doctrine because our doctrine is predictable, so you follow procedures exactly. You don't take risks, you take your shots, you move, you stay invisible. Clear? Richardson, you're observing only for the first week. No shots. You watch. You learn. Understood? Understood, Lieutenant. For the first week, Maya followed Thornfield through the frozen hell of Attu, watched her work, watched her set up positions, watched her make kills. Thornfield was exceptional, followed doctrine perfectly, never exposed herself unnecessarily, always had 2 exit routes planned. In that first week, Maya watched Thornfield kill 7 Japanese soldiers. It should have been educational. It was just not in the way Thornfield intended, because Maya also watched Japanese counter-sniper teams hunting American snipers, and she watched American snipers die. The first death happened on Maya's 8th day, November the 19th, 1942. Lieutenant Thornfield had set up in a bombed-out supply building, 3 stories, excellent sight lines, 2 exit routes, perfect position by doctrine standards. She engaged a Japanese machine gun crew at 320 meters, 1 shot, clean kill. Thornfield immediately moved to her secondary position on the 2nd floor. Standard procedure. Waited 20 minutes. Then engaged a Japanese officer at 280 meters. Another clean kill. She started moving to her tertiary position on the ground floor. A Japanese sniper shot her through a stairwell window. Single shot to the chest. Maya was 1 floor below, heard the shot, heard Thornfield fall. heard the wet, gasping sounds of someone trying to breathe through a punctured lung. She started to move toward the stairs. Moore grabbed her arm, stopped her. "Don't. He's watching the stairs. You go up there, you die too." "But, she's gone, Richardson. That shot placement. She's got maybe 2 minutes. We can't reach her. We can't save her. All we can do is not die trying." They stayed in position, listened to Thornfield die. 3 minutes of wet breathing that got progressively quieter until it stopped. After 5 minutes, Moore moved, low crawl, checking every angle. He reached Thornfield's body on the second-floor landing. Single shot, center mass. She'd bled out internally, never had a chance. Moore retrieved her rifle, her ammunition, her notebook, left her body. That night, back at base, Moore showed Maya Thornfield's notebook. 47 entries, 47 men she'd killed. The last entry was dated that morning. November 19th, 0730, Japanese officer, 280 meters, confirmed kill, moving to tertiary position. She'd followed doctrine perfectly and died anyway. Maya asked the obvious question. Who killed her? Moore's expression was grim. Japanese sniper. Intelligence says his name is Sergeant Yamamoto. 89 confirmed kills. All American or Allied snipers. He doesn't hunt infantry, he hunts us. Specialist in counter-sniper operations. And he's very good at it. How does he do it? He watches, he waits, he tracks our positions, predicts our movements, kills us when we relocate. Thornfield followed doctrine perfectly, moved exactly when she should have, used exactly the routes she should have, and Yamamoto knew, because our doctrine is predictable, and predictable gets you killed. The second death happened 8 days later, November 27th. Corporal Victor Callahan, 19 years old, 11 confirmed kills. Good kid who'd shared his last chocolate bar with Maya 2 days earlier. Callahan set up in a drainage ditch 400 meters from Japanese lines. Perfect concealment, good sight lines, textbook positioning. He engaged a Japanese patrol at dawn. 2 shots, 2 kills. The patrol scattered. Callahan followed doctrine, stayed low, waited 15 minutes, prepared to move to his secondary position. A Japanese artillery shell landed directly in his ditch. Obliteration kill. Maya was 300 yards away, saw the explosion, saw the column of earth and fire. When the smoke cleared, there was a crater. Nothing left to bury. The Japanese had called in artillery based on where they estimated the sniper was hiding. Standard counter-sniper tactic. Callahan's concealment had been perfect. His shot placement had been excellent. His adherence to doctrine had been flawless. He'd died anyway. 3 days after Callahan died, Maya was conducting reconnaissance near the site of his death, looking for evidence, trying to understand how the Japanese had called artillery so precisely. She found a body. Japanese soldier, dead, maybe 2 days. Killed by American artillery in the same bombardment that had killed Callahan. Maya searched the body. Standard procedure, intelligence gathering, found a notebook in his coat pocket. She opened it, sketches, dozens of them. American sniper positions, drawn with precision, annotated in Japanese, movement patterns, relocation routes, timing sequences. The Japanese weren't just reacting to American snipers. They were studying them, learning their doctrine, predicting their movements, hunting them systematically. One name appeared repeatedly in the margins, Shan Ben Yamamoto. Maya didn't speak Japanese, but she understood numbers. 89 confirmed kills. This wasn't random counter-sniper operations. This was one man, hunting American snipers, documenting their patterns, killing them when they became predictable. Maya stared at the notebook for a long moment. 7 pages of sketches, 7 American sniper positions, 7 sets of movement patterns. She recognized some of the positions. Thornfield had used 3 of them. Callahan had used 2. The Japanese, Yamamoto, had mapped their entire operational pattern. He knew American doctrine better than most American soldiers did. Following the book meant dying by the book. Maya closed the notebook, put it in her coat pocket. She needed to write a new book. Over the next 4 weeks, Maya watched 5 more snipers die. Every single one followed doctrine. Every single one died because they were predictable. Maya studied every engagement. Same pattern. American sniper takes position, engages target. Japanese triangulate the shot. Counter sniper or artillery responds. American sniper dies or retreats. The problem wasn't marksmanship. American snipers could shoot. The problem was they fought defensively, waited for targets, took shots when opportunities appeared, followed doctrine, never initiated, never controlled the engagement. Japanese snipers, especially Yamamoto, hunted actively. They didn't wait for targets. They created them. They forced American snipers to expose themselves, then killed them. Maya needed to reverse that dynamic, stop being prey, become predator. But American doctrine was explicit. Concealment equals survival. Exposure equals death. The doctrine made sense in theory. In practice, it was a death sentence. By December 15th, Maya had watched 7 snipers die. 7 friends who'd done everything right and died anyway. She made a decision that night. She was going to do something completely illegal. Something that violated every principle of sniper warfare. She was going to expose herself deliberately, make herself visible, draw fire, then kill whoever shot at her. It was insane. It would probably get her court-martialed. It would probably get her killed. But 7 snipers were dead, and Maya Richardson refused to be the 8th. The technique required precision timing, perfect positioning, and absolute nerve. Maya would set up 2 nests, not one, primary and secondary, but only 4 to 6 meters apart. Close enough to move between them in under 3 seconds. She'd place a decoy in the primary nest. A helmet on a stick, a jacket stuffed with moss, anything that looked like a person from 300 meters away. She'd hide in the secondary nest, watching. When a Japanese sniper shot at the decoy, muzzle flash would give away their position. Maya would have 2 to 4 seconds before they realized the decoy was fake. In those seconds, she'd acquire the target. Aim, fire, 1 shot. If she missed, the Japanese would know her real position. She'd be dead. If she hit, she'd move immediately, reset the trap, do it again. The plan was suicidal, but Maya had watched too many friends die following doctrine. She tested the technique on December 20th, 1942. Early morning, Japanese lines 340 meters away. She set up in a ruined supply depot near the front line. 2 shooting positions, one with a helmet propped on debris. She waited in the secondary position 5 meters to the right. Rifle aimed at the area where a Japanese counter-sniper would most likely position himself. 45 minutes passed. Nothing moved. Maya's muscles ached from staying motionless. Her eyes watered from staring through the scope. She didn't move. At 6:17 in the morning, a shot cracked across no man's land. The helmet in her primary nest jerked backward. Someone had taken the bait. Maya scanned the Japanese lines through her scope. There, 320 meters away. A muzzle flash behind a brick wall. A figure shifting position, moving back into concealment. She had 3 seconds. Her crosshairs settled on the figure. She couldn't see details, just a shape. Human-sized. She fired. The figure dropped. Maya didn't wait to confirm. She abandoned both positions immediately. Moved 40 meters west. Set up in a different building. Through her scope, she watched the brick wall where the Japanese soldier had been. 2 Japanese soldiers appeared 3 minutes later, dragging a body. Confirmed kill. The technique worked. Maya Richardson had just invented something that would change American sniper doctrine forever. She'd turned herself into bait, and she'd proven that sometimes the only way to survive was to break every rule you'd been taught. She'd found a way to fight back, a way to make the hunters become the hunted, and she was never going to follow doctrine again. Over the next 6 weeks, Maya Richardson refined the technique that would make her legendary. She learned exactly how long to wait before a Japanese sniper would take the bait. Average time, 37 minutes. Some waited longer, some took the shot within 15. But 37 minutes was the pattern. She learned how to position decoys for maximum visibility. Elevation mattered. Japanese snipers preferred shooting downward, so she placed decoys at slightly lower elevation than likely enemy positions. She learned how to predict where Japanese snipers would set up. They preferred elevated positions, second or third floor of damaged buildings, never ground level because American artillery targeted those first. They positioned themselves with the sun at their backs when possible. They rarely changed positions during daylight. Maya used all of this. She set her decoys to be visible from elevated Japanese positions. She timed her operations for when the sun would be in Japanese snipers' eyes. She built her secondary nests at ground level where they wouldn't expect her. She treated every engagement like a chess match. The decoy was her opening move. The Japanese shot was their response. Her kill shot was checkmate. The pattern repeated through December and into January. Each successful kill taught her something new. Each near miss showed her where the technique had weaknesses. By January the 15th, 1943, Maya had 78 confirmed kills. 22 of them were enemy snipers. Word spread through American units. The woman sniper who hunted the hunters. Soldiers started requesting her for counter-sniper operations. Officers who'd lost men to Japanese snipers came to her personally. Some brought cigarettes. She didn't smoke, but traded them for extra ammunition. Some brought information, locations where their men had been killed, patterns they'd observed. Some just brought grief. A lieutenant named Volkov came to her on January 12th. His platoon had lost 9 men in 4 days. Same Japanese sniper, operating near a railway junction where supply trains used to run before Japanese artillery made the route unusable. The sniper shot from different positions, killed officers, radio operators, machine gunners, anyone important. Volkov's men were terrified, refused to move during daylight. The entire platoon was paralyzed. Volkov found Maya in the mess tent, drinking bitter coffee that tasted like it had been brewed through a sock. "Richardson, I need your help." She looked up. Volkov was maybe 40. Oklahoma accent. Face that had aged a decade in 4 days. "What's the situation?" "Japanese sniper, railway junction, 9 of my men dead. He's surgical, never misses. I've got a platoon that won't operate because they're convinced they're next. You want me to kill him?" "I want my men to stop dying." Maya nodded. "I'll need 2 days to study the area. Then I'll kill him." Volkov pulled a flask from his coat, offered it. She waved it off. "Don't drink before operations." "After?" "After. We'll see if either of us is alive to drink." Maya spent 2 days studying the railway junction, 800 meters away from American lines, watched through binoculars, mapped every position with sight lines, counted buildings, measured distances, noted wind patterns. The Japanese sniper was smart. Never shot from the same place twice, never established a pattern, but he had to shoot. And when he shot, he had to be somewhere. Maya identified 11 possible positions, too many to watch simultaneously. She needed to force the Japanese sniper to reveal himself. On January 14th, she set up her trap. 5 meters from where Volkov's men congregated during morning briefings. Made a decoy that looked like an American officer, put it in a position where it would be visible from 8 of the 11 possible Japanese positions. Then she hid 12 meters away, rifle aimed at the most likely Japanese location. A destroyed train car, 6:30 in the morning. The decoy stood in the open, 40 minutes passed. Nothing happened. Maya stayed motionless, her legs cramped, her back ached. She'd been in this position since 05:30. At 7:11, the shot came. The decoy's helmet spun away. Perfect center mass hit. Maya saw the muzzle flash, 420 meters, inside a train car. The Japanese had positioned himself inside a destroyed boxcar. Brilliant hiding spot. American forces wouldn't waste artillery on a single train car. Until now. Maya adjusted for distance and wind. The Japanese was moving inside the car. She could see his shape through the open door, maybe 5 seconds before he realized the decoy was fake. She fired. Through her scope, she saw the Japanese soldier jerk backward. He didn't fall. He stumbled. Shoulder hit. Wounded but mobile. Maya chambered another round. Fired again. The Japanese dropped. She stayed in position, watching. No movement. Volkov's men moved in afterward. Found the Japanese dead inside the boxcar. 2 shots. One through the shoulder, one through the head. His logbook listed 67 confirmed kills, all Americans. Volkov asked Maya how she'd known where he was. She told him the truth. I didn't. I made him shoot first. Then I killed him. Simple mathematics. Volkov stared at her. That's not mathematics, Richardson. That's courage or insanity. Probably both, Lieutenant. The flask offer still stands. This time, she accepted. By early February, Japanese forces had put a bounty on her. 100 yen for whoever killed the American woman sniper. Then 500, then 1,000, then 5,000. The price kept rising as her kill count climbed. Japanese propaganda broadcasts mentioned her by name, or what they thought was her name. They called her various things. Devil Woman, Ghost Killer. The Phantom of Atu. Some broadcasts claimed she didn't exist, that no woman could kill that many Japanese soldiers, that she was American propaganda. Maya heard the broadcasts. Other soldiers told her what the Japanese were saying. She found it darkly funny. The Japanese were so terrified of her they couldn't believe she existed. Maya didn't care what they said. She cared that they were scared. Scared enemies made mistakes. She started leaving signatures. Small things, a piece of red ribbon tied near her shooting position after she'd left. Something visible, but meaningless. Just proof she'd been there. A playing card, Queen of Hearts, placed on a dead Japanese sniper's chest. She had to crawl into enemy territory to do it. Risked her life for a psychological gesture. But the gesture worked. Japanese soldiers started calling her the Red Queen. The Red Queen of Death. American propaganda loved it. Newspapers published stories about the mysterious woman sniper who taunted Japanese forces before killing them. Maya never confirmed or denied the stories, let them believe what they wanted. Belief created fear. Fear created mistakes. Mistakes created opportunities. And opportunities created confirmed kills. January became February. February became March. Maya's kill count climbed steadily. Not through recklessness, through relentlessness. Every day she operated. Every day she studied Japanese positions. Every day she found targets. 78 kills in January, 112 by early February, 156 by late February. Each number represented a life ended. Each life represented a tactical problem solved. Distance, wind, movement, mathematics. She tried not to think about the faces. Failed most nights. On February the 23rd, Maya met Lieutenant Boris Krakowski, reconnaissance officer, 32 years old, from Montana, had been in the Aleutians since the invasion started, knew the terrain better than anyone. He found her cleaning her rifle in a supply depot that had been converted into a sniper hide. "You're Richardson." She didn't look up from the bolt she was cleaning. "That's what my papers say. Heard you killed 67 Japanese at the railway junction." Killed one. He'd killed 67 Americans. Semantics. Accuracy. Boris smiled. He had the kind of face that looked like it smiled often despite current circumstances. Crow's feet around his eyes. Weathered skin from years outdoors. "I'm Krakowski, reconnaissance. Command wants me to work with you on something." Now Maya looked up. What kind of something? Japanese have a command post, 2 miles northeast. We need intelligence on their defensive positions, numbers, weapons, patrol patterns. Normal recon would take a week and probably get my team killed. But if someone could eliminate their observation posts first, you want me to kill their sentries so you can get close enough to observe. In less blunt terms, yes, Maya considered. What's the timeline? 3 days. We move on the 4th. I'll need to study the area first. I can show you. I've been mapping that sector for 2 weeks. That was how it started. Maya and Boris spent the next 3 days together, moving through frozen terrain, mapping Japanese positions, planning engagement sequences. Boris knew the landscape in ways that reminded Maya of her father. Could read terrain like other people read newspapers. They worked well together. Boris would identify positions. Maya would eliminate targets, methodical, professional, efficient. But somewhere in those 3 days, something shifted. Small things. Boris sharing his rations when Maya had been too focused on mission planning to eat. Maya showing Boris how to identify sniper positions by studying sightlines. Conversations during long waits that went beyond tactical necessity. Boris had a wife and daughter back in Montana, talked about them sometimes, the way his daughter had cried when he left for war, how his wife wrote letters every week. Maya told him about Alaska, about guiding hunters through wilderness, about her parents, about how strange it felt to use tracking skills learned for hunting animals to hunt humans instead. By the 4th day, when Boris's reconnaissance team moved in and successfully gathered intelligence because Maya had eliminated 6 Japanese observation posts, they'd become something more than professional colleagues. Not lovers, neither crossed that line. Boris was married. Maya respected that. But friends, real friends. The kind that forms when 2 people understand each other's skills and trust each other's judgment completely. Over the next month, they worked together regularly. Maya would provide sniper support for Boris's reconnaissance operations. Boris would provide intelligence on Japanese positions that helped Maya plan her engagements. On March 28th, something extraordinary happened. Heavy blizzard. Visibility under 200 yards for most soldiers. But Maya's Winchester had been fitted with a scope salvaged from a Japanese sniper she'd killed in February. Zeiss optics, German-made, superior light-gathering capability. In the dim snow, she could see clearly at 500 yards. Japanese soldiers, believing weather had grounded sniper operations, moved more freely than usual. Mistake. Maya operated like a ghost that day, moving through snowfall. Invisible, when Japanese soldiers fell, they fell silently, no sound of incoming fire. Just collapse. Their comrades never saw the shooter, never heard the shot. Wind and snow swallowed sound before it traveled 50 yards. They just watched their friends die from an invisible enemy. 31 confirmed kills, 1 day. Japanese forces filed reports about supernatural phenomena. American intelligence intercepted the communications. The Japanese were so unsettled they were attributing deaths to ghosts or curses. American command thought it was funny. Maya didn't. 31 men were dead. That their deaths caused psychological damage was tactically useful, but it didn't make the killing less real. She remembered every face through her scope. Young soldier, maybe 19, died while eating rice from a metal bowl. Officer, 40-something, died while reading a letter. It fell from his hands and the wind carried it away. Machine gunner, stocky, experienced, died while cleaning his weapon, never saw it coming. 31 times she'd solved the equation. 31 times the answer was death. That night she wrote in her notebook, March 28th, storm operations, 31 kills, total 212. Boris would have approved of the tactics. Effective use of environmental advantage. I think I'm forgetting how to feel anything about this. That should worry me. It doesn't. On April the 3rd, Maya encountered her most challenging target yet, Japanese counter-sniper team, 3 men, professional, operating with coordination that suggested extensive training. They'd set up in a destroyed building 700 yards from American lines. Maya had been observing them for 45 minutes, learning their pattern. Every 12 to 15 minutes they rotated positions, preventing fatigue, preventing predictability. This wasn't going to be simple mathematics, this was going to be a chess match. Maya waited. Patience was her advantage. At the 47-minute mark, the spotter scanned away from Maya's sector. The shooter was adjusting his rifle. The security man was watching the opposite direction. 3 seconds of opportunity. Maya aimed. 720 meters, longest shot of her combat career so far. Wind from the west, 8 miles per hour. She compensated for bullet drop. At this range, nearly 30 inches, she fired. Through the scope, she watched the Japanese shooter jerk backward, fall. The spotter reacted instantly. Started low crawling toward cover. Maya chambered another round, led the spotter's movement, fired. The spotter stopped crawling. The security man had located Maya's position. She saw him swinging his rifle toward her. She dropped below cover, relocated 40 meters south. The security man never showed himself again. Smart. He withdrew. 20 minutes later, American patrols moved through the area, found 2 dead Japanese snipers, both headshots. Both from extreme range. The dead men carried documentation. The shooter had 83 confirmed kills. The spotter had 47. Combined, they'd killed 130 American soldiers. Past tense. Maya didn't feel satisfaction, just relief that 131 and 132 weren't going to happen. On April 8th, Maya received intelligence about a Japanese ammunition depot, hidden in a cave system, heavily guarded. American command wanted it destroyed, but direct assault would cost 50, 60 lives, minimum. They asked Maya if she could eliminate the guards without alerting the main force. It was a heist, not combat. She'd have to kill 7 guards over 2 hours, each one without the others noticing. Then mark the depot for artillery. If one guard raised an alarm, the entire operation failed. Maya spent 6 hours observing the depot, learning guard rotation patterns, identifying blind spots. At dawn she started. First guard, 420 meters, smoking a cigarette behind a rock formation, isolated from others. Shot, drop. No sound reached the other guards. Second guard, 15 minutes later, walking patrol route, brief moment out of sight, shot. He fell into tall grass. Body wouldn't be found until rotation change. Third, fourth, fifth. Each kill required patience, waiting for the perfect moment. The second, when they were isolated, when sound wouldn't carry, when their absence wouldn't be noticed immediately. By 0800, 6 guards were dead. 1 remained. The sergeant. He was smart, stayed near other soldiers, never isolated himself. Maya waited. 845. The sergeant walked 20 meters to check on a guard who hadn't reported in, found the body, turned to shout alarm. Maya fired. 700 meters, longest shot of her career to that point. The sergeant dropped before sound reached his throat. Maya marked the depot coordinates with a signal mirror. American artillery struck 30 minutes later. Ammunition depot destroyed. Japanese forces in the sector crippled. 0 American casualties. Maya's notebook that night. April 8th, depot operation. 7 kills. Total 243. Not combat. Assassination. There's a difference. Combat is mutual. Both sides shooting. This was execution. They never knew I existed until they were dead. More efficient than combat, also more disturbing. On April 11th, Maya made the worst shot of her combat career. She'd been observing Japanese positions for an hour, watching movement patterns. A Japanese soldier emerged from a bunker. Officer, based on uniform. Moving toward a communications position, Maya aimed, adjusted for distance, wind, movement. As she squeezed the trigger, a second soldier walked into the path, younger, maybe 18, 19, carrying supplies. The bullet struck the younger soldier instead of the officer. Not an instant kill. Chest wound, he fell. Started calling for help in Japanese Maya didn't need to understand to recognize as terrified screaming. The officer Maya had intended to shoot ran to help. Exposed himself completely, trying to drag the wounded soldier to cover. Maya had a perfect shot. She didn't take it. She watched through the scope while the officer pulled the wounded soldier behind cover. Watched other Japanese soldiers respond. Watched them try to save him. She didn't know if they succeeded. Didn't matter. She'd killed the wrong person. And the right person had survived because Maya couldn't bring herself to shoot a man trying to save his wounded comrade. That night, she wrote in her notebook, April 11th, Japanese position observation, 1 kill. Total, 244. Missed intended target. Hit wrong soldier, younger. Maybe 18 to 19 years old. Watched him get wounded, calling for help, terrified. Could have shot the officer while he tried to save the kid. Didn't. Don't know why. Maybe because shooting someone trying to save a life feels different than shooting someone trying to take one. Maybe I'm still human after all. Not sure if that's good or bad at this point. By mid-April, Maya's count had climbed to 267, 34 of them enemy snipers. The Japanese High Command had increased the bounty to 10,000 yen. But something else was happening. American intelligence had been intercepting Japanese communications about Maya. The Japanese had analyzed her tactics, identified the dual nest technique, understood she was using decoys. They were adapting. On April the 25th, a captured Japanese radio operator provided information that changed everything. The operator was 19. Wounded during an artillery strike, scared, willing to talk in exchange for medical treatment. During questioning, the operator mentioned Yamamoto. American intelligence officers asked for clarification. The operator explained, Sergeant Yamamoto wasn't a single person, it was a call sign. 3 Japanese counter-snipers operated under that designation, a team, coordinated, trained specifically to hunt American and Allied snipers. The team leader, the actual Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto, had 89 confirmed kills, all enemy snipers. The other 2 team members had combined kills over 120. They worked like a wolf pack, coordinated their efforts, shared intelligence, rotated positions. Maya had killed one of them, the 83-kill shooter from the building engagement on April 3rd. That left 2, including the team leader, who was currently operating in Maya's sector. Specifically hunting her, Captain Morrison brought Maya in for a briefing, showed her the intelligence, explained what they'd learned. The Japanese aren't just trying to kill you, Richardson. They've assigned their best counter-sniper team to eliminate you specifically. Yamamoto has studied your tactics. He knows about the dual nest technique. He knows you use yourself as bait. And he's planning something, we don't know what, but he's been conducting reconnaissance of American positions for the last week. Never engaging, just watching. He's learning my patterns. That's our assessment. Which means your technique, the thing that's kept you alive, might have just become a liability. Maya considered that. Yamamoto had been hunting American snipers for months. 89 confirmed kills meant 89 American or Allied snipers had died because they'd underestimated him. Now he was hunting her, and he knew her tactics. This was going to be different than every engagement before. This wasn't going to be mathematics. This was going to be 2 hunters trying to kill each other, both exceptional, both experienced, both understanding the game perfectly. One would make a mistake, one would die. Maya asked Morrison the obvious question. What's Command's recommendation? Officially? Stand down from independent operations. Work only with infantry support. Don't expose yourself. Follow standard doctrine until we can eliminate Yamamoto through conventional means.
And unofficially? Morrison looked at her for a long moment. Unofficially, Yamamoto has killed 89 of our people. He's the best the Japanese have. And if anyone can beat him, it's you. But Richardson, yes, sir? He's not like the other snipers you've killed. He's patient, he's smart, and he doesn't make mistakes. If you engage him, one of you isn't coming back. Make sure it's not you.
On March 10th, before all this, Maya and Boris had been conducting a night reconnaissance patrol, 2 miles into Japanese-controlled territory when Boris stepped on a tripwire. Maya heard the click. Down! She tackled Boris sideways. The grenade detonated where he'd been standing half a second earlier. Shrapnel found Boris anyway. Left side, arm and torso. Multiple penetrations. Maya pulled him into a depression, checked his wounds in darkness. Her hands came away wet, too much blood. How bad? Boris's voice was controlled, but she could hear pain underneath. Bad enough. We need to move. I can't walk. Then I'll carry you. Richardson, I outweigh you by 60 pounds. Doesn't matter. We're not staying here. She got him upright, half carrying, half dragging, moving as fast as she could while staying low. Japanese patrols started searching the area. Maya found cover in a cluster of rocks. Applied field dressings. The shrapnel had torn through muscle but missed major arteries. He'd live if they got him to medical care in the next few hours. Japanese patrols passed within 15 meters. Maya held her breath. They didn't find the rocks. It took 3 hours to cover 2 miles back to American lines. Field hospital. Emergency surgery. 50-50 chance, according to the surgeon. Maya waited outside the medical tent. For 3 days, Boris fought infection with nothing but his immune system. On the 3rd day, he developed a fever. On the 4th day, the fever got worse. On the 5th day, he was delirious. The surgeon told Maya there was nothing more they could do. The infection had spread. Without proper antibiotics, Boris would die. Maya sat with him that night. During a moment of lucidity, he recognized her. Maya, I'm here. Did we get the intelligence back? Yes, Command used it. Saved a lot of lives. Good, that's good. Silence. Just breathing. His labored. Hers controlled. I'm not making it out of here, am I? Maya wanted to lie, but Boris deserved truth. No, you're not. He nodded slightly. Make them pay, Maya. What? The Japanese. All of them. Make them pay. For me. For everyone else. Make them regret ever coming to these islands. I will. Promise. I promise. Boris died 6 hours later. March 15th, 1943. 06:20 in the morning. Infection. No antibiotics available. Maya attended the brief memorial service. Watched them bury him in frozen ground alongside 17 other soldiers. Listened to a chaplain say words about sacrifice and duty. Felt nothing. Not because she didn't care, because emotion was a luxury she couldn't afford. That night, Maya wrote in her notebook. March 15th, 1943. Boris Krakowski, Montana, reconnaissance. Died from wounds sustained during patrol. He taught me how to read terrain. He saved my life more times than I can count. He was my friend. I will make them pay. Every single one. Something shifted in Maya that night. For the first months, she'd been fighting with mathematics. Now she was fighting with rage. Cold, focused, permanent. May 1943. Japanese forces launched their final major offensive on Attu Island. Not because they believed they could win, because their command structure operated on principles that didn't prioritize survival. They prioritized honor, refusing surrender even when defeat was inevitable. So they attacked with everything they had. For 3 days the fighting was brutal. Close quarters, Bayonets and grenades, American forces held, barely. Casualties were catastrophic. Entire platoons reduced to squad strength. And in the middle of this chaos, a Japanese sniper was systematically decapitating American command structure. 11 Americans dead in 3 days, all officers or senior sergeants, all single shots to the head or chest. Major Chernov, the sector commander, called Meyer to headquarters on May 8th. He showed Meyer photographs of the dead, entry wounds, perfect placement, every shot fatal. "The sniper is exceptional," Chernov said. "He's not making mistakes. He's just killing our leadership and we can't stop him." Meyer studied the photographs. "Have you identified his positions?" "No, he shoots and disappears. We've tried counter-sniper operations, lost 2 more men, he killed them both." "You want me to find him. I want you to kill him. You have 48 hours. If we can't eliminate this threat, command structure will fragment, and the Japanese offensive might break through." Chernov paused. "This isn't a request, Richardson. Find him. Kill him. 48 hours. Meyer looked at the photographs again. 11 dead Americans. Professional work. This was Yamamoto. Had to be. "I'll need detailed maps, kill locations, time of day, weather conditions, everything you have. You'll have it in an hour. Then I'll need to study the area, ground level, at night. That's dangerous. I know I'll need someone who understands the terrain." Chernov nodded. "I'll assign Lieutenant Brennan, reconnaissance specialist." Meyer spent 6 hours studying maps and kill reports. All kills within a 400-meter radius, all during early morning, between 5:45 and 7:30, all single shots. The Japanese sniper was mobile, changed positions constantly, never shot from the same place twice. He was following doctrine perfectly. He was everything Lieutenant Thornfield had been, and Thornfield was dead. Meyer needed to think differently. She plotted angles on a map. Every kill came from a different direction: northeast, southwest, northwest. The shooter was circling American positions, smart, but he had to see his targets, which meant sight lines, clear views. Meyer mapped every position with clear views of where American officers congregated. 14 potential sniper positions, too many to watch simultaneously. She needed to narrow it down. Early morning. Why? Meyer thought about it, ran scenarios. Early morning meant American officers were visible, moving between positions. First light meant soldiers were tired, guards were changing shifts, attention was divided. The Japanese was hunting during shift change. He knew American routines. He'd studied them. Meyer picked the 3 most likely positions: north tower of a destroyed church, 3rd floor of a collapsed apartment building, rooftop of a former school. All had perfect views, all offered multiple exit routes, all were elevated. Then Meyer made a decision that violated every principle of warfare she'd ever learned. She wasn't going to use a decoy. She was going to use herself, her actual body, standing in the open. If the Japanese took the shot, she'd have maybe 1.5 seconds to react. If she was wrong about his position, she'd be dead. If she was right, she'd have 1 chance to dive, acquire the target, and fire. 1 chance, 1 moment, everything on the line. That night, Meyer and Lieutenant Eliza Brennan conducted ground reconnaissance. Brennan was 27, Wisconsin, had been in the Aleutians for 9 months, knew the terrain like Boris had known it. They walked the perimeter after midnight. Japanese patrols were active, but Meyer needed to see the battlefield from ground level. The area was urban ruins, collapsed buildings, rubble streets, shell craters, 1,000 hiding places, but the Japanese had to see his targets. Clear views, unobstructed angles. Meyer studied the 3 positions she'd identified. The church tower had the best overall view, covered all American command positions, multiple escape routes, good concealment. If she was the Japanese sniper, that's where she'd be. Brennan whispered, "You're really going to stand in the open?" "Yes." "That's insane." "Probably." You'll be dead before you can react. Maybe. Maya, Brennan caught herself. This is different than the decoy technique. That was controlled risk. This is just risk. I know. Boris wouldn't want you to. Maya's voice cut through the darkness. Cold. Final. Boris is dead, and I promised him I'd make them pay. This is how I keep that promise. They returned to American lines at 0340. Maya didn't sleep, spent the remaining hours cleaning her rifle, checking every mechanism because she was going to get one shot. Maybe, if she survived long enough to take it. May 11th, 1943, 5:42 in the morning, Maya wore an officer's coat borrowed from a dead lieutenant, too big for her, but recognizable from a distance. She walked to the open area near the command post, right where officers usually gathered, made herself a target. Exposed, vulnerable, alone. Her rifle was 4 meters away, propped behind rubble, aimed at the destroyed church tower. If she was wrong, she'd be dead. If she was right, she'd have 2 seconds to dive, grab the rifle, fire. 2 seconds between life and death. She stood there, minutes passed. Every nerve screamed at her to take cover. Every instinct said this was suicide. But 7 snipers had followed those instincts, and 7 snipers were dead. Maya's hands stayed at her sides, relaxed, had to look natural. Wind blew cold. She could hear distant artillery, machine gun fire to the east. Nothing moved in the Japanese positions. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Maybe the Japanese wasn't there. Maybe he'd repositioned during the night. Maybe this entire plan was based on faulty intelligence, or maybe he was watching her right now. Crosshairs centered on her chest, waiting for the perfect moment. 15 minutes, her heart pounded. Sweat ran down her back despite the cold. She counted seconds, 900 seconds, standing in the open. Nothing happened. 17 minutes, the shot came at 5:59. Maya heard it before she felt it. The crack of a rifle. Arisaka Type 38. The snap of a bullet passing centimeters from her head. So close she felt the air displacement. So close it parted her hair. She dove left. Toward her rifle, not away from danger, hit the ground hard, ignored the pain. Her hands found the Winchester. Swung the barrel toward the church tower, scanned through the scope. There, 300 meters, 3rd floor bell tower, a figure moving back from an opening. He'd taken the shot, he was repositioning, moving into shadow. 3 seconds before he was concealed. Maya didn't aim perfectly, didn't calculate wind, didn't adjust for exact distance, just pointed and fired. Instinct shot. The kind instructors say never to take. Her rifle kicked. Through the scope, she saw the figure jerk, stagger, fall backward into darkness. She didn't know if she'd hit him. She stayed down, watched, waited, chambered another round. 3 minutes passed. Nothing moved. No return fire. Either he was dead or playing the same game. Maya didn't move. The hunter who moved first usually died first. 10 minutes passed. The sun was rising, more light, more visibility. American soldiers were starting their morning routines, officers emerging from bunkers. If the Japanese was alive, he had more targets now, but he didn't shoot. 15 minutes after her shot, Maya saw American infantry moving toward the church. Brennan had organized a clearing team. The soldiers entered cautiously, rifles ready. Maya watched through her scope. They reached the 3rd floor, entered the bell tower. 2 minutes later, Brennan appeared at the tower opening. She waved. All clear. Target down. Confirmed kill. Maya lowered her rifle. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear. From adrenaline crash. She'd just survived a duel with a Japanese sniper. She'd made herself bait. She'd taken an impossible shot. and she'd won. American soldiers cleared the building, found a Japanese sniper on the 3rd floor, single shot through the chest, dead. His rifle was still in his hands. Arisaka. Type 38 with custom scope. Zeiss optics. Modified for long-range precision. This wasn't standard issue. This was a sniper's personal rifle. The scope was still warm. His position was perfect. Concealment, sight lines, escape route. He'd done everything right, except underestimate his target. They found his logbook in his coat pocket. Detailed records, names where known, dates, distances, 94 confirmed kills according to his documentation, 47 Americans, 23 British, 18 Australian, 6 others. His name was listed as Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto, Imperial Japanese Army, Special Operations, Counter-Sniper Specialist. They found something else, a photograph, woman and child, Japanese, standing in front of a house, rural setting, mountains in the background. The back had writing in Japanese. Intelligence officer translated it later. Hokkaido, summer 1940, Kimiko and Hana. Until we meet again. His wife and daughter. Maya stood over the body, studying his face. He looked peaceful, eyes closed, like he was sleeping. Maybe 35, maybe 40, weathered from years outdoors. He'd been someone's husband, someone's father. He'd killed 94 people, and Maya had killed him. She felt empty, not triumph, not satisfaction, just empty. Brennan approached. "You okay?" Maya looked at the photograph still clutched in the dead man's hand. "I killed a father, a husband, someone who had people waiting for him to come home. He killed 94 people who also had people waiting for them, I know. You saved American lives, probably hundreds."
"I know that too." Brennan paused. "So what's the problem?" Maya looked at her. "The problem is, I just killed 95 people, and I'm supposed to feel something. Pride, guilt, something, but all I feel is empty, and I don't know if that means I'm doing what needs to be done, or if I'm becoming something I won't recognize when this war ends." Brennan didn't have an answer, neither did Maya. Over the next 3 months, Maya continued operations. Her kill count climbed. 288 when she killed Yamamoto in May. By June, 302. By August 15th, 309. 36 of those were enemy snipers. She was wounded 3 more times. June, mortar shrapnel to arm and shoulder. Minor, bandaged in field. Back in combat next day. July, artillery concussion. Shell landed 10 meters away. Knocked unconscious for 2 minutes. Recovered. Refused medical evacuation. August 15th, the injury that ended everything. American forces were conducting bombardment of Japanese positions. Standard artillery preparation. Japanese responded with counter-battery fire. Mortar rounds walking across the American sector. Maya was in a shallow trench, not deep enough. She'd been moving between positions when bombardment started. Mortar round landed close, maybe 15 meters. Shrapnel fragments hit her face, cut her cheek, damaged her right eye, fractured her jaw. Blood everywhere. Medics thought she'd die from shock. Too much blood. Facial wounds too severe. She didn't die. Field hospital stabilized her. Military hospital in Anchorage performed surgery. Doctors saved her eye. Partial vision loss but functional. Her face would scar badly. But she'd survive. The injury wasn't immediately life-threatening, but American command made a decision. Maya Richardson was too valuable, too famous, too important for propaganda. 309 confirmed kills, more than any other American sniper at that point, more than most would achieve in the entire war. If she died now, it would be a propaganda disaster. Better to pull her from combat, use her for morale. Command pulled her from the front on September 12, 1943. She was 25 years old,
15 months in combat, 309 kills, 4 wounds, 0 requests to be reassigned. She wanted to stay, argued with commanders, said she could still shoot, said her injuries were superficial. Command said no. Orders were orders. She was going on tour. The cost of 309 kills manifested in ways Maya didn't expect. Physical toll was obvious. She'd lost 18 pounds, started at 128, ended at 110, 15 months of sub-zero exposure, inadequate nutrition, constant stress. Her body had been consuming itself. Permanent cold sensitivity. Even in normal temperatures, she felt cold. Her thermoregulation was damaged. Shoulder permanently damaged from rifle recoil. Chronic pain for the rest of her life. Facial scars. Partial vision loss. Fractured jaw that healed but never felt right. But physical damage was minor compared to psychological burden. 309 entries in her notebook. Each one a life ended. Date, time, range, conditions, target description when possible. She'd recorded them like harvest yields, but these weren't crops, these were men. Some had names, most didn't. Just descriptions. Japanese soldier, age approximately 20 to 25, killed at 0630, 340 meters. Maya read the entries sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep, which was most nights. 309 times she'd ended a life. She never celebrated, never boasted. When asked how she felt, she'd developed a standard answer. They were soldiers following orders. Like me, Japan chose war, politicians chose war, soldiers fought war. I killed soldiers who would have killed me or my comrades if they'd seen us first. That is war. It is not heroic. It is not glorious. It is killing. I was good at killing. That doesn't make me proud. It makes me sad that I was needed. Interviewers usually didn't know how to respond. The Goodwill Tour started in September 1943. Washington, D.C. first. Meetings with military officials, congressional representatives, journalists. She was awarded the Medal of Honor. First woman to receive it for combat operations. The ceremony was elaborate, formal, uncomfortable. Eleanor Roosevelt attended. She was fascinated by Maya. A female warrior, a feminist icon. Eleanor arranged for Maya to speak at rallies, dozens over the next 6 months. New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Everywhere she went, thousands came to hear her. American newspapers called her the Alaskan Ghost, the most dangerous woman in America. The Red Queen. She became famous. American women loved her. She represented something they couldn't be. American military officers were skeptical at first, questioned her kill count. Maya didn't argue. She let her records speak. American command had confirmed every kill. Witnesses, documents, physical evidence. The U.S. War Department verified her claims through intelligence, cross-referenced with Japanese casualty reports captured after recapture of Attu. The numbers matched. She wasn't lying. The tour lasted 6 months. By March 1944, Maya was exhausted. She'd given hundreds of speeches, met thousands of people, smiled for thousands of photographs. She'd become a symbol, and she hated it. She wanted to go back to combat, back to Attu, back to where she mattered. But Attu had been fully recaptured in August 1943. The Aleutian campaign had ended. There was nothing to go back to. American command assigned Maya to training duty. She would teach new snipers, pass on her knowledge, her techniques, her innovations. She taught at multiple facilities, Fort Benning, Quantico, Camp Pendleton, hundreds of students over 6 years. She taught them everything: how to build dual nests, how to use decoys effectively, how to predict enemy sniper positions, how to think like the enemy, how to make yourself the predator, not the prey. Some of her students became legendary themselves. They used her techniques in the Pacific, in Europe after D-Day, in Korea later. Her methods spread. By 1945, American sniper doctrine had been completely transformed. The defensive, concealment-focused approach was gone, replaced by aggressive, psychological tactics. American snipers weren't hiding anymore. They were hunting, and it worked. Enemy casualty rates from sniper fire increased dramatically. More importantly, American sniper casualty rates dropped. American snipers were living long enough to become experienced, to pass on knowledge. The doctrinal change saved thousands of American lives, and it all started with Maya Richardson deciding to use herself as bait. After the war, Maya struggled with what she'd done. 309 confirmed kills, 309 people who died because she'd been better at solving the mathematics of death. She married in 1947, divorced in 1951. The marriage never worked. Her husband, a veteran himself, couldn't understand what she'd experienced, and Maya couldn't explain it. She married again in 1955. This marriage lasted, had one son, raised him in Anchorage. She lived quietly, avoided publicity, rarely discussed the war. Neighbors knew she'd been a soldier. Few knew she'd been a sniper. Almost none knew about the 309 or the techniques that had changed doctrine. This reticence was common among combat veterans. They found civilians couldn't understand, couldn't relate, so they stayed quiet, went to work, raised families, lived quietly with what they carried. But Maya's burden was unique. Other veterans had killed, but not 309 times, not deliberately, not as a primary function. And no other female veteran had her experience. She was alone in ways that made the burden heavier. The nightmares started in the 1950s. 309 faces, seen through a rifle scope. In the moment before she pulled the trigger, she remembered them all. Not their names, most didn't have names, but their faces. What they'd been doing when she killed them: young soldier eating rice, officer reading a letter, machine gunner cleaning his weapon, Yamamoto falling backward with surprise on his face. 309 images that cycled through her dreams. She'd wake up sweating, breathing hard. Her husband learned not to wake her during these episodes. Just let her work through it. The photograph of Yamamoto's wife and daughter haunted her most. She'd killed a man whose daughter would grow up without a father, whose wife would grow old alone. Maya understood intellectually that Yamamoto had done the same to 94 families, that killing him had probably saved American lives, but understanding didn't make the weight lighter. In the 1970s, she tried therapy. PTSD wasn't well understood then. The therapist didn't know how to help a woman who'd killed 309 people. Maya stopped going after 6 sessions, found her own way to cope. She focused on her teaching legacy, on the fact that her innovations had saved American lives, that snipers who'd learned her techniques had survived to teach others. If her 309 kills had led to techniques that saved even one American life in Korea or anywhere else, then maybe the deaths had purpose. She never fully resolved the guilt. You don't get over killing 309 people, you just learn to live with it. Maya Richardson died on March 15, 2020, 96 years old. Stroke, peaceful death in her sleep, military funeral, full honors, Arlington National Cemetery. Her obituary in the New York Times: Maya Richardson, Medal of Honor recipient, Aleutian Campaign, 309 confirmed kills, changed American sniper doctrine forever. Media coverage was significant for a few days, then faded. The world had other concerns. COVID pandemic was beginning, economic crisis, political chaos. An old woman who'd fought in a forgotten campaign on frozen islands didn't hold attention long. Within a year, her story was largely forgotten again. Schools that mentioned her did so briefly. One paragraph in textbooks: female sniper in Aleutian Campaign, significant kill count. The real Maya, who'd broken doctrine, who'd used herself as bait, who'd revolutionized tactics, who'd carried 309 deaths for 77 years, was lost in simplified legend. But her legacy lived on in ways she'd never know. The National Infantry Museum at Fort Benning displays her Winchester Model 70 rifle. Glass case. Plaque. Rifle of Captain Maya Richardson, most successful female sniper in United States history. 309 confirmed kills, Aleutian Campaign, 1942 to 1943. The rifle still has her adjustments, the scope she calibrated, the stock where she carved her initials during a quiet moment in December 1942. Next to the rifle is a photograph. Maya, at 24, standing in front of a ruined building on Attu Island, rifle in her hands, eyes staring directly at the camera. She looks tired, determined, unbroken. That photograph is Maya Richardson's real legacy, not the propaganda, not the medals, not the 309 confirmed kills. The legacy is in her eyes, the eyes of a woman who decided she wouldn't be prey, who decided she'd rather risk everything than follow doctrine that didn't work, who decided her life mattered enough to break the rules. Her dual nest tactics are now standard in United States Marine Corps Scout Sniper School. British SAS includes her methods in counter-sniper doctrine. Israeli Defense Forces study her engagements as case studies in urban and extreme environment warfare. None of these organizations mention her by name in official documentation. None credit her specifically. The tactics have been absorbed into general doctrine, divorced from their creator. But every young sniper who learns to use themselves as bait, who learns to think like a predator instead of hiding like prey, is using techniques Maya Richardson invented in frozen ruins on Attu Island. Every sniper who survives because they understood psychological warfare matters as much as marksmanship owes something to a woman most have never heard of. That's the real legacy. Not fame, not recognition, changed doctrine that saved lives. The museum is quiet most days. Visitors walk past the rifle case without stopping, without reading the plaque, without understanding what they're looking at. But sometimes, not often, but sometimes, a young woman in military uniform pauses, reads the plaque, looks at the photograph, sees those eyes staring back across 80 years, and understands something fundamental. Rules can be broken if they're getting people killed. Doctrine can be changed if it's not working. And sometimes the only way to survive is to make yourself the target, to refuse to be prey, to become the hunter. That's how survival happens in war, not through following orders blindly, through soldiers who see that doctrine is killing them and decide to do something different, who risk court-martial because their friends are dying, who use themselves as bait because it's the only way to kill the hunters. Maya Richardson used herself as bait to kill 309 enemy soldiers in 15 months, changed American sniper doctrine forever, saved thousands of lives through her innovations, carried the weight of 309 deaths for 77 years, and almost nobody knows her name, but you do now, and that matters, because some stories are too important to remain forgotten, because some innovations changed warfare in ways that still matter today, because some soldiers, like Maya Richardson, proved that courage isn't following the book. Courage is breaking the book when the book is wrong, and writing a new one with your own survival. If you made it this far, you understand something most people don't. That war isn't about glory, it's about ordinary people forced to do extraordinary things under impossible conditions. That innovation comes from necessity, from soldiers who refuse to accept that inadequate doctrine means inevitable death. That courage isn't following orders blindly, it's breaking the rules when the rules are killing your friends. Maya Richardson broke every rule in the book, used herself as bait when doctrine said concealment equals survival, hunted aggressively when doctrine said wait defensively, changed American sniper warfare forever, and paid the price for it every single day until the day she died.
That's the real story, not the kills, not the medals, not the legend, the cost. If this story moved you, remember it. Share it with people who need to understand that sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to play by rules that get people killed. Tell it to young people who think innovation only happens in laboratories. Tell it to anyone who's ever been told that's not how we do things.
Because Maya Richardson proved that sometimes the person who survives is the one who looks at impossible situations and says, "I'll figure it out." Not the person with the best equipment, not the person who follows doctrine perfectly, the person who refuses to accept that the way things are is the way things have to be. Did anyone in your family serve in World War II, in the Aleutians, the Pacific, Europe? Think about the innovations they made, the rules they broke, the impossible problems they solved. Those stories deserve to be remembered. Those soldiers deserve to be honored. To Captain Maya Richardson, and every soldier who proved that American ingenuity knows no limits when lives are on the line, we remember. We honor your sacrifice. We tell your stories, because some histories are too important to remain forgotten.